everyone, and welcome back to Thunderclan History and Beyond. Review episode 5A. Enter someone we missed, if only for a little. And episode 248A. Kin of Kin. Is that a prophecy? So, I know we recorded this the same day, but because we have to bang them out because unfortunately our preview episodes will come to an end in our next episode. So, without any further ado, let's begin. Flash forward 2 seasons. Remember, last time we left off, it was the middle of Leaf Bear, or winter 2015. 2015, this was January. Flash forward to June 2015, and let's begin our story. It begins a long, long time ago. Remember in episode 50 where we say bye-bye, see ya, Sky Clan? Well, we gotta talk about that again. Well, flashback a few years ago to episode 50. Episode 50, see us, sayonara, Sky Clan. I said the wrong thing. Sayonara, Sky Clan is where Red Star decides Sky Clan can leave because Shelford is being built. And that's really it. Cloud Star, like Blue Star after her stops believing in the Star Clan and leaves. That's really it. Flash forward from 1970. Flash forward 20 years. No, not 20 years. Flash forward 40 years. Remember, 1970. Remember, 1976 to 2015. That's just about 38 years. And a bunch of leaders have come and gone. Oh, so they ruled for like 2 weeks. Well, welcome back to the narrative, Sky Clan. We won't jump in your narrative yet, but we're getting really close. It begins Firestar's assessing Bramblepaw. Bramblepaw wins a battle after rolling in Ferns after the assessment began, and he gets to be a warrior. And they plan a warrior ceremony, and Fernpaw and Ashpaw have just become Ferncloud and Ashfur, and Fernpaw was literally still an apprentice, and she became pregnant with Dustbelt's kids. Yeah. It's like saying a teen is pregnant with a 30-year-old kids, but who cares? Who cares because these are cats. Yes. Shrew Kit and Spider Kit, who will grow up to be... Shrew Kit won't survive that long, only until the new Prophecy Book 3 when he dies as Shrewpaw chasing a pheasant onto the Thunderpath. Spiderpaw will survive even through the Battle of the Dark Forest, which we will talk much about in later episodes. And grows up to be known as Spiderleg. But I'm getting ahead of myself. For now, it's just Shrew Kit and Spider Kit, and Birchfall hasn't even been born yet. So, as he's walking through the forest back to the Thunderclan camp, he sees a white and black cat who's crying out in a wail of agony, trying to look like help me. And this pretty much carries on for the next few days, because in Brambleclaw's ceremony, warrior ceremony, a cat's face appears in a puddle. Then Spider Kit splashes the puddle. Firestar looks up at the sky and nothing is there. Then he goes hunting with Sandstorm. And he sees a bunch of cats in the river. And then they disappear. And he thinks, Great StarClan, what's happening to me? Then Smudge decides to pay a visit. He said, I need to see Rusty. No. Then, a few days later, on a patrol, randomly, stop, don't hurt me. I need to see Rusty. Firestar. It's Smudge. And Smudge comes over and says, I think I have to live with you, ruffians. And how do you live with those ruffians? Then, because he was having weird dreams, and his and Hattie's territory houses Hattie. If you recall, actually no, you don't recall because I never told you about this. But when Brambleclaw was still an apprentice, early in the Leaf Bear, there when he had his first snow, Firestar was eavesdropping on Hattie, who's a kitty pet, and Smudge, who was his friend when he was a kid, when he was still Rusty. And let me add, we didn't know Hattie's name until now, and she lives in Firestar's former home. So Rusty's two legs gave up searching for him and got a new one, got a new cat. Took her to the vet, etc., etc. Then she really just befriends Smudge and everyone else who Rusty had been friends with, and went with Smudge to the normal hunts, like normal areas that Rusty and Smudge used to go to before Rusty became Firepaw, Fireheart, and Firestar. Next, we have, so apparently they dug up a big bush with a bunch of holes with like a burrow underneath it. They just thought it was a rabbit, but Firestar's interest quickened because he had just paid a visit to the Moonstone, found out about SkyClan, and thought that this might be their camp because they were driven out because two legs had entered their territory, and that must be their camp. So he goes to pay a visit to Smudge and Hattie's house. Hattie introduces herself. Firestar tells her he used to live there, etc. He falls asleep, and Cloudstar, who's the strange cat, although Firestar will never know his name until Leafstar's 9 lives. Until then, he's just known as like the SkyClan ancestor. There. But next, he says that my clan needs your help. And so he decides to travel. And so Cloudstar tells him travel all the way up until the end of the river. And so he plans to travel. After coming back, he tells Sandstorm. Sandstorm invites herself on the trip, and they both leave. After saying goodbye to Graystripe and Cinderpelt at Sunning Rocks. They follow the river. Sandstorm disappears after a heated argument. And Firestar finds a few kitty pets. One of them is named Korra. Not Korra, like the Legend of Korra Avatar, but Cora, like Coraline, only without the line and just the Korra. And we'll meet those later, and when we talk about A Vision of Shadows and what actually happened to SkyClan when Firestar left, and when Twigpaw decides I'm gonna go find them. But we must begin. So Firestar travels all the way up to find a bunch of rogues and loners. Just remember, some of these loners will become SkyClan, including Patch, Clover, Patch, Clover, Rainfur, Scratch, and Leaf. They will choose names, and Patch will not become a Patch Pelt like the elder who died in the fire. In the fire back in Rising Storm, Firestar will choose a different name for him because he's not the Patch Pelt. He will become a different name. There will be tails, pelts, and there's a claw in there. Next, he stumbles upon Leaf, finds two kitty pets named Cherry and Boris. But SkyClan was driven out of this gorge, but their lineage has continued. Cherry and Boris still have SkyClan blood and can still leap like 700 feet high in the air into trees. So can Scratch and Oscar. Clover, Patch, and Leaf don't, but they still do the traditions of a clan. For instance, the legend, if you do not stay awake the night a cat dies, you will die too. It is derived from the sitting vigil when a warrior or elder or medicine cat dies. But we shall hear much more about these people later. Next, we have to finish when SkyClan is formed and Skywatcher tells the famous prophecy to Firestar. So, she finds a bunch of cats. Clover and her kits, Rock, Bounce, and Tiny, are being attacked by a fox. Scratch, Sandstorm, and Firestar help them, and Clover comes to live in the warrior's den, the old warrior's den in the gorge, saying that will be safe. Cherry and Boris meet Firestar when they're making fun of a cat they call Mooney, but whose actual name is Sky. And that cat will become Skywatcher. Firestar and Sandstorm meet Sky. They introduce themselves. Sky tells them about everything. Cherry and Boris apologize and do training sessions with Firestar. They go to find kitty pets who might like to come join in SkyClan. And when Sky challenges Firestar to rebuild SkyClan, and like once and for all, Cherry and Boris help him. No, just Boris actually helps him go meet kitty pets. Then kitty pets, and the really only one interested is Hutch, who will one day become Short Whisker. Then he comes back, and when he's about to choose something from the new fresh kill pile, Scratch comes over and decides to take Firestar around to meet other cats, like specifically rogues and loners. He re-meets Leaf. He meets Tangle, who's a cranky old guy. Decides to move. Leaf decides to come to this meeting. So does Scratch and Patch. Rainfur decides to come to the meeting, but won't give his word. Won't say what he's gonna decide. And that's pretty much it for the meeting of SkyClan. For the meeting of the rogues and loners and the kitty pets. Next, that night, there shall be a meeting. Firestar runs it, and so does Sky. Hi, Firestar explains how a clan works. When you're a kit, you will be named something kit. For instance, he takes rock Bounce Fire, who's just Bounce Kit right now. Who's just Bounce right now, and names him Bounce Kit. Like, for example, But he doesn't actually name Bounce Kit Bounce Fire. That will be Leaf Star later. Then along comes, then he says, apprentices will take the name Paw. They will get an out when they are 6 moons and etc. Rules of clan. A few rules of the clan later, Firestar talks about the 9 lives of a leader, and Scratch perks up. And so some people join, including Clover with Rock, Bounce, and Tiny, Leaf, who actually agrees, Patch, Scratch, Hutch, Cherry, and Boris, and that's pretty much it. The next day, they all move into the warrior's den, but Clover still thinks SkyClan is something she can depend upon to protect herself. And no, you cannot do this, Clover. So the next day, they choose warrior names, and Clover actually moves into the nursery. Remember, there is still no, actual leader of SkyClan, and no medicine cat. Only Sandstorm knows the basics: marigold for infection, juniper berries for strength, poppy seeds for sleep and calming, cobwebs to stop bleeding, and until Patch is bitten by a rat later in the story, which we will talk about next episode, which will be our last preview episode, sadly. will be when she finds out from Spotted Leaf, burdock root or garlic. Then along comes the choosing of the warrior names. Firestar would normally say, I, Firestar, leader of Thunderclan, but now he has to add and mentor to SkyClan before Leafstar can actually go, I, Leafstar, leader of SkyClan. Chooses warrior names. Scratch becomes Sharpclaw. Cherry because Cherry and Boris become apprentices Sparrowpaw and Cherrypaw, naming Scratch and Leaf as their mentors. Leaf becomes Leaf Dapple. Hutch becomes Short Whisker. Patch becomes Patchfoot. Clover becomes Clovertail. And Rock, Bounce, and Tiny want to be apprentices that very second. But Firestar, with a bunch of amusement happening, chooses clan names for them: Rock Kit, Bounce Kit, and Tiny Kit. We shall talk about other things later in the story, but right now, they all say SkyClan, SkyClan, and Skywatcher, Sky, who's now named an Elder Skywatcher, invites Firestar to his den and tells him of a prophecy. And they speak. He thanks Firestar for rebuilding SkyClan. And he says, your clan is safe right now. But in a time there will be 3 cats, kin of your kin, who will hold the power of the stars in their paws. And remember, this is the prophecy.